Hi guys and welcome back. Now in this lesson, we're going to do something completely unexpected. We're going to deploy our code, the code we've written so far, to live production. What does that mean? That means putting our code live on the internet for other people to visit. Now you might be thinking, why are we doing that so early? But deploying often and early is one of the secrets to success of a professional software developer. Doing so means that you will catch production problems early and often. So it's really a great habit to get into, and we're going to look at doing that right now. Over the last few lessons, you've modified the README file, you've put your code under version control with Git, and you've pushed that code to GitHub. So you've come an awful long way. And this is another major step in your learning curve. And this really is an excellent thing to know. This step is completely optional. But as I just mentioned, deploying early and often will allow you to catch early issues. In these lessons, we will use Heroku for our web deployment. So let me jump onto the Heroku website here. And here you go. It's a fantastic, beautifully simple website. And Heroku is a hosting platform built specifically for deploying Rails applications. Not only can you host Rails applications, but you can see here you can host other applications as well. So PHP, Node, Python, and so on. So Heroku is our deployment tool or platform of choice. And just one note before going any further, to deploy to Heroku, your application source code must be under version control with Git. So you've already done those steps. Well, I hope you have. If not, go back a few lessons and do that now. But to proceed further, you need to have your source code under version control with Git. Heroku provides a free hosting tier, so a free option, and that option is going to be more than enough for our needs. So what you need to do now is go ahead and sign up. So you can see in the top right hand side here, a sign up button. I already have my account, so I'm just going to simply log in. There we go, logged into the dashboard. Now we're going to get back to this in a few minutes, but for now, let's go back to our code. So as you can see here, I have my gem file open. So here we are here, gem file. So what we need to do now is edit this file, and we do so by following the steps of a previous lesson and checking out a branch for our modifications. So let's go back into our terminal. I have my Rails server running, so let me control and C on that, and that kills the server. Now what are we going to do? As I just said, we're going to modify our gem file. So I want to create a new branch for this work. So what I want to do is git checkout -b modify -gem file. There we go. So switch to a new branch, modify gem file. And again, like we did previously, you can confirm that with the command git branch. So as you can see here, marked by an asterisk and in green, modify gem file, which means we're working on a new branch. Now let's edit our gem file. Why are we editing our gem file? Well, a gem file, just to recap, is the place to store and tell Rails what packages we want to use within our application. And as we're going to push to Heroku, so host our code on the Heroku hosting platform, we have to add in a gem for the PostgreSQL database. Now why do we have to do that? Well, as you can see here up in the line 12 here on my screen, group development test do, we've installed a database SQLite 3. So that's the default database of most Rails applications, a nice, friendly, light, easy to use database. But Heroku does not support SQLite 3, it supports PostgreSQL. So in order for us to host our code on Heroku, we need to install the gem Postgre or PG for our code to work. So we're going to add that gem now, but we're only going to add it for our production environments. We don't want it on our test. So we don't want it in our development or test environments. What we want it is only production. And how do we do that? Well, just go to line 28 here, enter in a couple of spaces, and I say group, production, do, enter, and we're going to put in gem, quotation marks, PG for Postgre, comma, and tab, and the version we're putting in is 1.14. Now I should just point out again, as I did previously, that these version numbers might change when you go and look at this lesson or when you're taking this class. If so, the reason I'm putting in specific version numbers here is that when you're following along, if you enter the same numbers, your code will work because we're working on the same versions of gems and software. This gem is only going to apply to production environments, so our Heroku deployment. That's perfect. Now, as always, and I made this mistake in an earlier lesson, as you can see here, up beside our file name, gem file, there's a little circle, which means we haven't saved this file yet, so you need to save that file first. Command and S, or save it whichever way you want to do. Now, back into our terminal, let's have a look here. And let's say git status. There we go, we've modified our gem file. And you can see we're working on the branch modified gem file. All of that, so far, so good. Now, to further help prepare our system for deployment to production, we can run the bundle install. As we've modified our gem file, it's always good practice to run the bundle install command after you modify the gem file. This time we're going to run bundle install with an additional flag, which is without production. And let me spell it correctly, that would help. Without production. What that's telling bundler to do is to prevent the local installation of any production gems. So as we know, one of our production gems is the PostgreSQL database. So we're not going to install that on our local machine, only for our deployment. So let's run that now. So as we did in the previous lesson, let's now commit our changes. And we do that with git commit A. So A, as we know, for committing modifications to our files. -m, M for message. And what's the message we're going to put in? Well, let's say we have updated our gem file. There we go. Close quotation marks. Hit enter. 2 files change, 6 insertions. Excellent. Now, how do we merge this into our main branch? So as we know, our master branch is our parent branch. So these terms are kind of interchangeable. So how do we merge the changes we've just made, which is in the branch modified gem file, back up into our master? Well, we simply check out, git checkout master. There we go. Switch to branch master. Perfect. And as you can see behind me, the changes I've made to the gem file have been undone. That's because we're in the master branch, which hasn't got our new changes. We're about to merge all our changes together, which will bring the files back into sync. So don't panic if you do see your code disappear. What you first have to do is merge your files and everything will be in sync again. So we've just checked out our master. Now what we say is git merge modify. So the name of the branch we created previously. So modify gem file. Hit enter. And there we go. As you can see now, the code that we made in our gem file is back again because we've synced up our 2 files and everything is as it should be. We can delete the branch we've just been working on, which is the modify gem file branch. So git branch. My spelling's let me down today, or my typing's let me down today. Git branch -d modify -gem file. So we're going to keep our branches nice and clean and only ever have our master branch. Some people leave their branches hanging around in case they want to go back to it later. I just like to delete and keep it clean as I go. So git branch -d modify gem file. Deleted branch modify gem file. Cool. Okay. Now at this stage we could push to GitHub and that's no harm. So git push. There we go. Push to GitHub. If I go back to my GitHub page. So where are we here? There we go. GitHub. Refresh that. Hopefully, there we go, look, updated gem file 2 minutes ago. So our changes are now pushed up to GitHub and our online backup and our online repository is up to date with our local system. All of that is absolutely excellent and major advances in our Rails knowledge. Now we want to deploy to production via Heroku. So let's get back into that. At the beginning of the lesson, I asked you to sign up for a Heroku account. If you haven't done that, go ahead and do that now. You can check if your system already has the Heroku command line client installed with the following command. Heroku -- version. There we go, I have that installed. But for most students, it will be necessary to install the Heroku command line client tool. And you can do that by going to this URL. So let me go there now and show you. So pop open my browser. So as you can see here at the URL, which is devcenter.heroku.com/articles/Heroku-CLI command line install. You simply go here, scroll down a small bit, as you can see the heading here, download and install. Pick your system, Mac, Windows, Linux or Ubuntu, download the installer, or if you're on Mac and you've used brew, you set up brew like we did a few lessons ago, copy and paste in this brew command here or this brew line here and that will work. On Windows you can download the installer and Ubuntu you can copy this line here. So that is very simple to do. Once you have that done and confirmed, and how do you confirm it? Well, once again, when you get a successful message on your install, just run Heroku version and you should see a line like I have here, Heroku 7.33 or whatever the version happens to be at the time. So once you're verified, we can use the Heroku command to log in with the email and password you used when signing up. So let's have a look at how we do that. Heroku, Heroku, login, --interactive. There we go. So it's asking me for my email address that I signed up with, Tony Staunton. Next, my password. That should log me in. There we go. Logged in as Tony Staunton 711. Absolutely perfect. Everything so far so good. Now we want to create a place on the Heroku server for our specific sample app. So just for our app. And how do we do that? Again, with the Heroku command, Heroku create. Hit enter. Okay, so as you can see now, it's created on the herokuapp.com domain. It's created a specific subdomain, and in my case it's called Protected Springs, and then it's given it a number. You're going to have something completely different. So Heroku, every time you run the Heroku create command, generates these randomly named, and I have to say very randomly named, subdomains. So go ahead, run the Heroku create command and see what URL you get back. Now what we need to do is push our code that we have under version control with Git to Heroku for hosting. How do we do that? Git push Heroku master. So what are we pushing here? Obviously we're pushing our master branch. So the latest code that we have under version control with Git. Git push Heroku master. Hit enter. And it does its thing. Give that a minute to run and come back to it. Okay guys, so here we are here, and as you can see, my git push Heroku master command has run successfully. So if I go to the subdomain that Heroku generated for me, and did indeed generate for you, hopefully, with the previous command, I have the subdomain here. Let's visit that and see what happens. So pop it open. So as you can see here, Command and V, command and paste that in. Hello world. Unbelievable. Excellent. I cannot tell you how happy I am to see that working here, and hopefully you're just as happy and it works just as well for you. And I'm so happy because what we have done in a very short space of time is we've created a Rails app from scratch, we've modified it, we've placed it under version control, we've learned how to host it locally by running the Rails server command, and there it is there still running locally for us. We've put our code under source control with Git, we've then pushed that code to GitHub, so here it is here, we saw that a few moments ago and we're going to see this a lot more. But then finally, we pushed our code to Heroku. We pushed this to a production deployment. It's live on the internet. You can give out this URL now to your friends or whatever and send them to it. Get feedback on your app. Get test users on your app. It's absolutely fantastic. So the name here is Protected Springs. If I go back into my Heroku dashboard and just let me refresh here, because I've cleaned up and I've removed some repositories and things like that, and I've put in a new one since we just did it because I've had this video pause and done some practice. You can see here Protected Springs and then the number after it. So there we go, all running. So this morning, there we go, done a deployment, gives it a deployment serial number, my version of deployments all the way down. Absolutely all working away perfect. So you can browse through here, but as I say, the Heroku free tier is more than enough for us and our needs. If you want, I believe that you can use the paid tier to point your own subdomain to it and all that kind of stuff. There's lots of great things you can do with Heroku, so play around with it and explore it. Okay guys, that's it for this lesson. We've come a very, very long way, and what we're going to do in the next few lessons is explore an even more detailed sample app before we get into the nuts and bolts of a real world live production app. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next lesson.